you have waited longer to have lost your virginity if you could do it over again?
I lost it when I got married.
I was pretty young. I was 13.
You figured that was too young?
Yeah, I'd say. That put me on the wrong path, actually.
I don't know, it was like a high school thing with my girlfriend, and that was the way it worked out, but yeah, I really don't want to put an age on where you should or shouldn't do it, because everything's personal and everybody is different.
As a gay male, I mean, you can be the ugliest guy going and still get laid every weekend at any sex venue for the nominal entrance fee that it takes, and go crazy. You know, like, it's just stupid. It's just ridiculous. None of that decides anything for me. I decide for myself. We're living in a society where we're going around satisfying our sexual urges for the sake of sexual pleasure itself. And we've gone from being ashamed for having sex, and gays obviously for the type of sex they have, to being ashamed for not having sex. A lot of people assume because somebody is homosexual that they are promiscuous, and that's a myth that I'd love to debunk. I don't partake, and I haven't in the past either, in bathhouses and all the usual sexual venues and ways of relieving yourself sexually. Especially in the gay community, there are quite a few, and I don't feel I've missed out on anything that way. In fact, I know I haven't. Promiscuous people aren't expected to justify their promiscuous behavior. We take it for granted. It's all done in the name of fun, and everything's about fun. If you meet somebody you like, have fun, as in have sex. It's becoming synonymous, and it's just, I don't see why that's the case at all. I don't see why the virgins of the world have to justify themselves and their actions or lack thereof. For me, losing your virginity has everything to do with behaving sexually, having sex with another person, however you define that. I mean, it's a very subjective thing, like I said, and a very gray area. I don't think it's as simple as, okay, now we've had sex, now we haven't. This is not sex, that is. A lot of people don't even consider anything beyond the breaking of the hymen when they talk virginity, and to men, that doesn't even enter into that doesn't factor into a relationship between two men. But yeah, it wasn't until my 30s that I wanted to let go of it completely. It was just all about the human connection between myself and another person. That just happened to occur later in life, depending on how you want to define that. I mean, for love, for sure. I'm holding out for love. I think we should always hold out for the real thing and not just lust. I have to believe there are other people out there doing the same thing. I'm Romeo, I'm 36, and I'm choosy.
The general message, I think, is that the best thing in the world is to have an orgasm, and so you should have as many as you can, as often as you can, and certainly that's sort of like the ultimate experience people can imagine, and so it's what you find, it's implicit in a lot of the coverage on, like, you know, great sex tips, how to keep your marriage hot, and all that sort of thing. And it's interesting seeing how, say, various pop stars have sort of dealt with this. I mean, because certainly, you know, Britney Spears talked about saving herself for marriage early on in her career, but I never quite thought that that was necessarily what she really believed or was going to do. On the other hand, Jessica Simpson appears to be genuine in that she apparently did wait until she got married. It's the female pop stars who seem to have to address this. The male pop stars, nobody really asks, and that is a double standard.
There's always a part of me that's curious to know, what did I miss out on? What did I give up over those years by trying to maintain this? And obviously, you do believe that the rewards of waiting are worth it, but there's always a part of you too that would wonder, I wonder what I missed out on. Obviously, I'll never be able to get that back. I'll never be 19 or 20 years old again. My name's Ryan. I waited 31 years and finally lost my virginity a year ago on my wedding night. Yeah, I'm probably not proud to admit that. I didn't really know what I was doing on my honeymoon night. It was very new, and it was kind of scary and exciting at the same time. At the same time, too, I realized since I was going to be with her, and hopefully 30, 40, 50 years, we had a long time to practice. And over the past year that we've been married, it's definitely been getting better and getting more exciting and getting more passionate. But you're right, definitely on the honeymoon night, I probably wasn't a whole lot to brag about. Yeah. I can't believe I just admitted that. You're going to cut that out, right? I know that just the act of sex between my wife Trisha and I has brought us so much more close. And I would think that if you've had that with a whole bunch of different partners throughout the way, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Like it's going to bring about disease, because it doesn't always. It's not going to bring about pregnancy, because it definitely doesn't always. But I just think from an emotional perspective or a spiritual perspective, sharing that with a whole bunch of different partners before you finally get to your life partner or your wife or your husband, your spouse, has to have a ramification, has to have an impact on you down the road that you might not be realizing at the time when you're 18 or 19 or 20 years old. Now, after being married a year, I can say yes, it was definitely worth waiting for. I'm really glad I did. I think there's a special bond between Trish and I that's occurred that I don't think would have been as strong had either of us been with different partners in the past. At the same time, had you asked me this question 2 years ago before I had been married, I think there obviously would have been a little more hesitation in my answer, because I hadn't been able to see down the road, I hadn't been able to see how things would turn out. Now knowing how things have turned out, I'm very glad I waited. I think there's definitely a reward that comes with that.
Sex is part of the act of marriage, and must be in that context of a committed, loving relationship. Our family was in a real mess. My dad was an alcoholic. Our family situation was really troubled, and in the space of a year, I became a Christian. My whole family became a Christian. My father became a Christian, and Jesus took away his alcoholism overnight. Like, hard to believe, but miraculous. So our family life was, up till my mid-teens, kind of absorbing in its trouble. And afterwards, there was such a radical change that my mind was really focused. I wanted to save myself for my wife, and to me that was a higher priority than my sexual urges. I wanted to be obedient to Christ, and to me that's the supreme and most important feature of my life. So it's not that I didn't have natural urges, it's just that I had other desires that were more important to me than those. I waited to have sex until I was 39 years old, which is when I got married.
A moment for me that I found kind of interesting was when I was watching Dave Letterman once, and he was talking about how Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston had waited 9 months before having sex. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it doesn't matter, because the point is when he said that, suddenly the audience gasped. There was this big, loud, collective gasp coming from the audience. Like, that was just unheard of, especially for these, sex symbols of big and small screen.